Hello, welcome to TrueHoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
I am happy to tell you that I have been in 5 gyms in the last 7 days, and I won't be in 6 different ones. This is the
Oh,
last gym today. It'll be my last time in a gym. Yeah, and then I'm heading out of here. Yeah.
last gym, then you get to head home in time for the weekend. Get back with Chrissy, and see what's happening there.
I'll go.
David,
I'll go to Orlando. Actually, my daughter's final
okay.
parents' weekend, of
Oh, okay.
which we've had one cancel with a pandemic. We've had one cancel with the hurricanes. We've been to one in 3 years. There's a good chance we're going to catch 2 and 4, and that's all we can do.
And this is her last one, so I think this
This is
is
it.
this is nice.
This is it.
Um, Nothing happened, David, in the NBA. Just a normal, regular. We're just minding our own
I
business.
mean, nothing surprising happened other than no one expected Milwaukee, which we should have expected that you weren't going to
Correct.
see anything coming because this is what
Correct.
happens.
This is what happens. Well, I will say this. Yes, we said Monday show. I titled the episode "A Big Star is going to get traded and it won't be Dame." Okay, yeah. So we were wrong about because David and I we had this question. David asked me, "Jarod, what do you think the likelihood is?" I said, "Well, one of them is going to still be on their team when training camp opens." I thought it would be Dame and Harden would be the one to go first. It wasn't. Harden's still on Philly as of right now, and Dame was traded to Milwaukee Bucks, and we'll break that down and get into it. So a team that no one saw coming, which David says we should have known that, and we said this on Monday. We said it in our recap that we did with Henry that was published on the website yesterday. When you hear particulars of a 3 or 4 team deal, and this is exactly what it's going to be before the deal is even announced, it's almost never that is what's going to happen because there are just too many moving pieces and parts involved. And if you are confident to go out with something like that, to me, from a journalistic standpoint, David, you would have to have confirmation from your sources on the team sides, on each team side, and on the agent side for each principal player being involved. And what are the odds that all of those people are giving you the exact truths of what's happening? Slim to none, I'm going to say. Which is again why nobody knew about the Milwaukee Bucks. Everybody's like, "Holy Milwaukee we only heard Miami, we heard Philly, we heard Toronto." And those teams could have very well been interested in Dame because Dame is very good. But ultimately, in the end, he went to Milwaukee to play with Giannis. The Portland Trailblazers got Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton as well. And then we'll talk about the particulars of, Nurk and the younger guys that went to Portland. But David, just to trade again, just off the top, your thoughts and, first from the Milwaukee standpoint, what this means for them going forward.
A couple of things. So first of all, I've not listened to any podcasts yet, or I've only read a couple articles. And the reason why I say that is because I try never to be informed in terms of my opinion by what other people say. I'm supposed to just give my own original thoughts.
Right.
That doesn't mean I don't learn stuff. There's so much out there with it. How fast can we move Drew? And what is it? Did Giannis comment on that he's gonna agree to come back next year, maybe sign his extension now or sign a new contract later? I don't know. I've not had time to digest any of those things. So everything I'm telling you is just fresh from whatever we heard yesterday and then what we published yesterday. I don't know anything new. Um, I think that Milwaukee's fans are very happy. I think the people working for the Bucks for the next couple of years are very happy. I think
Wait, really quick. A couple of them on Twitter or X said, "Ha! This from the guy who said Milwaukee should trade Giannis." So they're feeling really good today about your
oh
comments about
oh
trading
I'm
Giannis.
happy. I'm happy to address that too. I wasn't predicting anything. I was only saying what I'd
Correct.
recommend. And there's
Correct.
nothing that happened yesterday that makes me think I was wrong in my
Correct.
assessment. People can argue if they want to. Fans are happy because fans don't think down the road. They just think
Correct.
about right now, immediate gratification, which is their prerogative. Some of them, anyway. I think uh, Milwaukee better have something to show because they're going to be thirsty for a long time.
I agree.
There's almost no solution for them whenever it is that this duo is done. Um, there are so few draft picks, the pick swaps, which means tanking only helps another probably good team, and so that's going to really make a difference. Milwaukee's going to make some teams really rich.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
just won't be their team.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but let's look on paper. I think Dame And if indeed he can play 60 plus games, which is, we have no idea if he can. We don't know about anyone. But if you're a betting person, you would bet more money that somebody else might play 60 plus games more so than Dame. But when he does play, they will have a better offense and a potentially much worse defense. As good as Brook Lopez and Giannis are defensively, or can be, they were helped by having Drew at the point of attack. That no longer is going to be the case. There's going to be if Brook Lopez is going to find out what it's like to be Rudy Gobert in Utah. Yeah, he's going to find out that, oh man, I got a lot of holes to plug and only got 10 fingers. So that's going to be potentially an issue. And we're just talking about Milwaukee here, but in the postseason, Drew's had his struggles. He's not a great offensive player as a scorer. Dame has a history of really killing it in the postseason. It doesn't mean he will, but the trend is, the guess is that he will be good. I do like the combination with Giannis. I think that they're a perfect fit, not just schematically, offensively, but in general, because of what Dame lacks defensively. Giannis can potentially make up some of that. Brook behind him. We still need Chris Middleton. When I say we, Milwaukee still needs Chris Middleton to be healthy and to play really great. I don't know that that's any kind of sure thing. They do have depth problems, more so than before. And they have a rookie coach who's never done any of this. And unless they told him a month ago, we're going to get Dame, he was up late at night watching Synergy, and he's up first thing this morning with his staff watching Synergy. And what do we create? They've got time. They can line up and win games and a lot of because of pure talent, but their identity has been gutted, absolutely gutted. And so at the end of the day, if Henry said yesterday, maybe 2% to win. What did he say? 2% to win before the trade, maybe 7% now. Yeah, I would probably have given them 4 to 6% before the season started, and maybe 8 to 10% now.
Okay. Not even 12. Not even 12%. Not there yet.
I just don't think rookie coaches and then an absolute character overhaul. Like Joe Mazzulla came in to a set group and struggled. This is far from set.
Correct.
And I also worry that the NBA, it just bit off its nose to spite its face by putting these new rules in. So Dame and Giannis have to play more, and we run the risk of them being injured, just like every other team, of course.
Right.
So at the end of the day, Milwaukee gets an A for me if they want to be all in this year. It's not what I would have done. And just to address that point really quickly, Jarod, it was never about can they make a trade this year. Of course they could make a trade that year to help them. The question was, are they going to be guaranteed that Giannis is still going to want to stay? I don't know if he's commented yet. Has he?
None. He is not, and there's no guarantee. No guarantee, and I don't think there's any wink handshake. Okay, I'm all in now. I don't believe that either.
Yeah, why would he do that? There's no reason why we wouldn't have to do that. He's not responsible for Dame's happiness. He's responsible for his own. So I think that Milwaukee has failed miserably in the postseason before after a great season. This doesn't guarantee anything in the postseason.
Correct.
And if they were to lose in round 1 or 2, it's going to be hair on fire problem.
Ugly.
We'll see.
Of course, surprise to no one, I agree wholeheartedly with everything David just said. The couple of caveats I'll add, Agent Griffin does have the advantage of Terry Stotts as his lead assistant on the bench. Terry Stotts does have experience coaching Damian Lillard in Portland. So that will help a little bit in his transition there, number one. Number two, I'm with you, David, on the age thing. Look, Brook Lopez is 34, 35. I got to look that up.
I thought he was older, yeah.
And Chris Middleton is on the wrong side of 30. Look, so the point being, if they don't win within the next, he's 35, Brook Lopez, within this year or the next, this isn't going to look good because Lopez and Middleton aren't going to get better from here on out. Like, they're just not. And
Giannis probably isn't either.
Well, there's also that. He's 28, so you give him a little bit. His decline will be a little bit less than those guys. But
yeah, he'll stay the same. But I don't think he'll suddenly become a great shooter. I hope he does, but we have seen no indication.
Highly unlikely. So, yes, they roll the dice and went all in. And to your point, when this goes bad, which it will, they're going to be in the desert. Because remember, guys, Damian Lillard has 3 more years and 150 odd some million left on this deal. That puts him at age 36 or something like that, making $60 million. Like, ain't going to be cute. So, look, it better work out this year or next.
On that point, on the flight, one of my recent flights, I was watching Sugar Ray Leonard 30 for 30. I didn't see all of it, but it was on the TV that was
My
playing at the
favorite
time.
boxer growing up.
Yeah, I was a huge fan. I mean, I listened to Leonard Burns in, I think they fought in Detroit, Pontiac
Hmm.
Dome. I forget the
Hmm.
name of the
Hmm.
Silver Dome, maybe. It was on the radio. It wasn't even on TV. Yeah, I loved the boxing back then. Um, and I just was thinking about boxing in general. We know now that when Ali first fought Frazier, it might have been fight one, might have been fight two. I don't remember anymore. I'm too old to remember. But I followed all that shit in the 70s. They both almost died. They
Correct.
both almost died of heat exhaustion. They just would not stop. So if you're managing a boxer that has a real future, do you run the risk of saying, you know what, we probably should throw in the towel? He may die tonight, but if we lose, and we're going to get a rematch, and he's going to be in a whole bunch more really important fights, and he's going to keep getting better. I think only a terrible manager would be able to say, would not be able to say to the fighter, I know how badly you want to win this, but you could die from this and you'll never get another chance or be injured permanently. So no, let's throw in the towel and let's live to fight 15 more heavyweight champions or whatever middleweight fight.
Hmm. Hmm.
I started thinking about that watching this documentary because Leonard, as you know, went toe to toe with Duran
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
first fight to prove he could fight and not
Yep.
just be a point boxer. And he
Yep.
lost the fight because of it.
Hmm.
And I don't remember where he got his retina detached. I don't know which fight it was,
Don't remember which fight either.
but it was one of those. But that's poor management. So to me, Milwaukee is saying to their fans and to themselves, the staff, hey, we're going to give it all in without realizing we may be in the desert for a long time. And I think that's poor management long term. I really do. I don't think that's the best way to serve your owner. I would love to be shown the metrics suggesting otherwise. But to me, with those years where they're terrible, TV
Hmm.
ratings are going to suck, the building's going to be empty, and you're going to lose a generation of potential fans in the future who would never even think about a Milwaukee Bucks because they suck so bad. And I don't love that, but that's my personal preference.
Yeah.
These guys want to win or bust. Well, that's how it's going to be. It's going to be you're all in. You're gonna win, or it's going to be a bust.
That's exactly, you are 100% correct. That's
Yep.
what it will be. All right,
Yep.
moving on to the Portland side of this deal.
Yeah.
Portland got Drew, DeAndre Ayton, Tamani Kamara, who's on the Suns. They're a second round draft pick, a 2029 unprotected Milwaukee first, and unprotected Milwaukee swap rights in 2028 and 2030. Clearly, the Blazers are in a youth movement. They've wanted Ayton for a while, since last summer. So they're very happy they got a young center. And as you said on our chat yesterday, I mean, John Drayton cut his teeth as a pick and roll player with Chris Paul. So he knows how to catch lobs from the best point guard arguably ever, right? Or one of the best point guards ever. So to play with these young guards, he can, help them in the pick and roll. It'll be fun. You got Shaden Sharp, Anthony Simon, Scoot Henderson. Drew likely will be flipped. He has to wait until December 15th, I want to say.
I'm not sure.
Well,
I've heard
actually,
debates
let me
about
take that
this.
back. He might not have to wait for that. I think once the trade principals go and pass their physicals in their team, I do believe once that happens, he can then be traded. I stand corrected on that. I do believe he can be traded before that December deadline. And Portland hasn't made any announcements about anything yet, but we are both
He's getting traded.
yes, we are both under the impression that, or belief that he will be moved, because Drew's 31. He doesn't fit with the timeline of what they have there. And the haul they can get back for him in terms of young players, also great. And I have to say this because David's pretty funny. He put on Twitter this morning from a classic movie, Trading Places, when Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy pulled the switch on the Dukes, and everyone's like, we got to get rid of all our shorts. They're like,
Oh,
fine.
foul.
Like,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Like, hilarious. And that's what all teams who want to win anyway, who are contenders, should be thinking about. Yes, we will try to get Drew Holiday to help us win.
Listen, I'm old enough to remember that movie in the theater. Yeah, we saw that. I was a big Eddie Murphy fan, and Dan Aykroyd. Yeah, I think first of all, Drew Holiday plays Scoot's position. Like you just given Scoot this gift of, hey
Mm-hmm.
man, it's your
Mm-hmm.
team now. Figure it out. We got time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
No pressure, and we've given you a tutor,
Mm-hmm.
not a tutor that plays your position
Right.
and is better than you, a tutor that has played with the point guard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about catching lobs; it's screening angles and patience and
Mm-hmm.
like how to use your eyes to make my drop guy think you're going to shoot, but you're really giving me the lob, or make him think you're giving me the lob, and then you can shoot your floater. And all the nuances of the game. I think Chris Paul can probably teach pick and roll better than I can, and I'm fucking really good at it. I think Chris Paul's probably better at teaching it, and I think he learned a lot. I'm sure he did. I don't know why Portland valued him, but they did. And if you're DeAndre Ayton, that's got to feel good. Instead of
Mhm.
the fourth or fifth wheel in Phoenix, when you've already kind of felt slighted there, I don't know why. They paid him a lot of money. But nonetheless, there's been an issue there. Monty
Mhm.
Williams is probably, of the people celebrating, if we made a list of a pro and con list, people celebrating, people not celebrating, the Portland guards and the young guys are celebrating, right? I think I think Durant and Booker not, but we'll get to them later, right? I do think that Aiton should feel. I think he probably feels really good that that I'm really going to be valued here.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
is just 25.
Mhm.
Portland may feel like we can listen. The truth is, Portland may feel like we can rehab his rep as back to being first pick in the draft guy, and
Mhm.
then we'll trade him.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. So when you start thinking about the haul that you get, but we always have said, we've said in a year now, no one's ever going to get the Gobert trade again. But
No.
if you look at in the aggregate what they got for Dame, and now we're going to get for Drew probably two firsts or swaps, plus
Mhm.
maybe Jaime Jaquez,
Mhm.
Orlando Robinson, Kyle Lowry for the money,
Mhm.
Nikola Jovic maybe,
Mhm.
or maybe a Philly offer, whatever. And then if it turns out they move Aiton because they get him to the point where someone says, "Oh, that guy could start for us right now, and then we can win a championship," and they're
Mhm.
going to get more first for that. Then they become Oklahoma City with Scoot and Sharp already on their team, and Simons. They can trade Simons too.
Mhm.
So early on, they're going to lose a lot. Milwaukee
Correct.
would be doing the same thing if they traded all their guys. But you know, and I both know that if you're going to have a terrible team, the greatest gift you can give your fans is the hope that stars are coming, and you're not going to sign them. You're going to draft them, and you're going
Mhm.
to develop them. And so Portland is going to be filled with hope until all of a sudden, like OKC has been doing,
Mhm.
until all of a sudden they're going to flip over into filled with optimism that we can contend for at least a Final Four spot. Starting
Yep.
next year,
Mhm.
maybe an outside chance this year because they could do a deal this year with all those assets
Mhm.
and make a Final Four run this year, right?
Mhm.
So that's what Portland's got going forward. A lot of years, it's feast time for Portland. They
Yeah.
have no pressure of winning.
Yep.
Just collect talent and watch them develop. What fun that is! Fun. And then start competing for titles. There's a nice 7, 8 year window where Portland fans should be thrilled.
It got the nice runway set up, as David said, just like OKC. This is what you're looking at here: collecting assets and draft capital, swaps, all that stuff. And look, for the Miami Heat fans who were upset that they didn't get Dame, look, for the Portland guys, the Bucks draft picks and swaps are likely going to be way worse than Miami's, right? So that's a huge reason why the Bucks deal went through and the Heat deal did not in that regard. Plus, also Tyler Hero is duplicative of what they already have, right? You're getting another wing or guard type scorer to Anthony Simon, Shaden Sharp, and Scoot. We just mentioned all the three of those guys. We don't need a fourth, right? And what you can get for Drew Holiday in a swap is better
That's
than
what
what you'll get for Tyler Hero.
that's what matters. Drew being in a contract year. What does he have? Yeah,
He
contract year
had
now.
a play is this year and a player option next
Right.
year.
So he could leave after this
Mhm.
year. He's just got more value to the other teams than Tyler. Not by a
Mhm.
lot necessarily, but he's got more. So Portland made the right move. And they did what's best for them, not what's best for Dame, which is their prerogative. That's what the money was for. We're
But
paying you to do whatever we want with you. You get your money.
but here's the thing, David. They didn't even do bet. They sent him to a contender. They didn't send him to a scrap,
No,
a
no, for
terrible
sure.
team.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't screw him at all. No,
I mean,
no.
you're on a team that can win a title. So
And
I
that's who
mean,
he wants to play. Giannis is like a couple years ago. He said, Giannis. I think maybe Henry reported that is that's who he most. Who wouldn't want to play with Giannis when you're Dame?
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
who wouldn't want to play with that guy? So yeah, I mean they're Portland. Yeah, I've heard the city is really struggling, but they're not going to be struggling as fans for a while. They're gonna have a
Right.
lot of fun. Yeah.
All right, now we move to the Phoenix Suns side of this. And David's so funny on our call yesterday, which we published into our chat. David said, "All right, if I'm giving out grades for Phoenix," and I said, "Oh, I know what grade that's going to be." He was like, "Incomplete, trending towards D minus," because I don't know that Yusuf Nurkic is exactly. And you had a funny conversation with your son Max. Tell us what you and Max were talking about as relates to Yusuf
Yeah.
Nurkic.
As I said, Max really wants to run a team and long in the future, but he is starting to be mindful of these kinds of things. And so I had not spoken to him yesterday. I had no time. So he called me this morning and he has not read our article yet. He'll read it later today. And he's like, "What do you think, Dad?" I said, "Well, you tell me what you think first." He's like, "Well, I like Phoenix's depth. They really had a depth problem. I said, yeah, you've been reading some articles because you forgot the big story is how bad the center is. Like, who gives a fuck about depth when your center sucks, right? Like that Jokic might suck. I don't think he's the worst player in the world, whatever, but he hasn't finished around the rim. I think that he'll be happy. Nurk will be. He's going to a better team for sure, much better. I'm not so sure it's going to work out great for him. In fact, I would argue it's probably not going to work out great for him. And I think that the depth is a luxury that you can worry about when you know your core is really good. And I just don't think they've settled.
Yeah,
I think Aiden's better. He's a better player,
of course
and
he
he
is.
can still trend forward a little bit. So they've got work to do, in my opinion,
Yeah.
to be among the Lakers and Warriors and Nuggets in that top three.
And we'll talk about Phoenix in particular as it relates to this deal. The one thing I said yesterday that we published, I was like, look, you're getting an older, worse version in Nurkic, right? But one thing this does do for Phoenix from a money standpoint, it does help them down the road get off of a fourth max contract. Right now they have three in Durant, Booker, and Beal. Ayton was a fourth. They have 3 more years worth in that deal. Well, now they don't have that, and that the remaining $100 million over 3 years is now split between. Well, it's not even over 4 years because those guys are all on contract expires sooner. So that money actually goes away. So what they avoid is becoming a repeater second apron tax team
Right.
next year and the year after and the year after. And, you know, as we always say on this show, I don't care about billionaires' pockets. Don't matter to me. But I'm sure Matt Ishbia is like, well, thank God we don't have to pay all that money.
I think it's a really important point, and to be fair, I would give them a better than D minus with that in mind. And I don't. My job is I don't see my job as worrying about money so
Right.
much as worrying about what
Who
on
cares
court
about their
production
money?
when you're trying to win a championship. But I think it's a very important point. It's a prudent move, especially if you don't see Aiton trending towards being worth that money. You paid him,
Mhm.
but they know better than me
Correct.
whatever problems there were, and if they just felt like he's just not going to he's not going to be worth that contract, then at worst you get a C. At worst you get a C. I don't think Durant cares
Right.
about Aiton's issues in terms of his value. He's a better partner to Durant than Nurkic on the court. And
Yeah.
so that's not going to make Durant and Beal and Booker happy, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. And again, the fact that Phoenix is willing to do the deal tells us something that yes, part of it was Monty, but Monty's gone, and they're not even giving Vogel a chance to get through to him, which tells me they have some feeling about him that it isn't going to work out. Now, some of the stuff you're hearing is that Ayton, as a number 1 pick, wanted to be more involved, especially in the offensive end of the floor. Well, on a team with just Durant and Booker, you definitely ain't going to be a number 1. And now with Beal, he's like, well, I'm literally going to get scrapped. And it's like, yeah, we're not running any plays for you. And he maybe wasn't down with that. So they moved on. And Nurk for sure is not going to be asking for any touches because that's not his set. So maybe the role is someone who will play their role better because they know this isn't about me. I'm just going to rebound and do whatever I can and, screen and et cetera, because that's all I can do here. I am not going to get any shots or whatever. So maybe. But we'll see when we do our breakdown.
What's Nurk's deal?
Nurk is, I think he has, I want to say, this year and next year left. So let me double check that.
As an option, yeah, I'm curious.
And it's less than, obviously less than Booker. Okay, Booker, excuse me, than Ayton. He has 3 years left. 16, 18, and 19 $1 million. So considerably.
But they're not
less.
going to be able to trade him with that. You're not going to be able to, because I was thinking if he was closer to expiring, they could, but they're not going to be able. So he's going to be their center. Now, does he have to start? No. They basically have Portland's old center group with him at Eubanks. Yeah, that isn't a good thing. Yeah, I just Phoenix, financially good move, but Durant doesn't care about that.
No,
I don't think.
No.
And we'll find out if he requests a trade. That'd be pretty funny.
Oh my goodness! All right, David. There's some interesting. Speaking of players and what they want, etc. Former number 2 pick, I believe Jabari Parker was in his draft class, is playing for FC Barcelona, not the football club Barcelona, excuse me, Barcelona, the basketball team, in the Euro League. And he had some interesting comments about leaving the NBA, and this is what he said: I just want to be a part of something legitimate. I want to be part of every game matters. Sadly, the NBA is a business, and there are 10 to 12 teams that try to win every game, and the other half try to get a draft pick. Where does that leave good players? You either have to be super good or bad to lose games. It's no excuse to see DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard, or John Wall, guys who are potentially going to the Hall of Fame. seeing those guys not have a job, we're seeing the league get watered down, unfortunately. And this is Jabari Parker talking about the NBA when he was asked why he decided to go to play for Barcelona in the EuroLeague. Before we actually got on, David, you said, well, and I agree with you. Well, the reason why he's playing in the EuroLeague is because no NBA team offered him a deal, right? If they did, he'd probably be there. But
Definitely be there.
Right. Being that you do player development and you always talk about, how the league certainly has no monopoly on that. In fact, they're actually very bad at it in most places. How important it is for players when they get drafted to be in the right position to succeed. And I think this is the biggest, Jabari, not the biggest, but he's one of the more recent examples of someone with talent who, if he went somewhere else and got the right royal jelly, would probably still be in the league right now.
So I'm going to answer that going backwards with I want to talk about one more thing regarding the other trades, the trade that we just went through with Dame, because I think there's an ironic potential of having uh, uh, Drew Holiday play for the Heat, and I think they can keep Tyler Hero this time. So how's Miami versus Milwaukee with Tyler Hero and Drew Holiday in their backcourt?
With
Jimmy and Bam.
Drew's going to lock up Dame. We know that. So
yeah. So I'm going to get to your question because it's a really good topic. They can offer one or two of their last 2 first-round picks, Kyle Lowry for the money, whatever. I'm reading about and hearing about teams saying they don't value Jovic and Jaquez the way
in Miami.
No, the other teams do, because Miami, there's a certain quality in Miami draft pick. This is what they're saying. I'm not saying this. They are. That the other teams may not, like, for example, Jaquez was, I thought, in the 20s in the most mocks. They got him, I think, at 18. But Miami really values grit, toughness, work ethic. Other teams say it. I think Miami really, does he have a disposition to defend? Is he going to pass our famed conditioning test? And I had a player text me more than one over the years, like, oh man, I did it. Fucking thank God I'll never have to do that again until next year, whatever. It's challenging. Everyone's doing something, almost everyone. So, but to that point, there's a reason why Miami, in addition to being the free agent city that it is, they've done a pretty good job of developing players, whether it's through draft, free agency, or even the G League, guys that are undrafted. And plenty of teams don't do that. And we'll see Milwaukee, if they can turn Beauchamp into a rotation player. Okay, that changes things a little bit. He does look like he should be a great player. So far, he doesn't play that way at all, but we'll see. He's young. In Parker's case, I think you make a really good point. I liked him. I didn't love him. I liked him coming out. Was that the Wiggins draft?
Yes, I believe so. Pull it up right now.
Wiggins is such a better athlete. Parker was more skilled. And he got heavy. That's no one's fault but his. You can blame the team too. But he got heavy. And he's so wrong in the man, these dudes want to win all the time. These players, I've been on some NBA courts now in the last week, and I've never been alone on the court. There's always someone working, and I go at night with guys, and not only are there players working. Last night where I was, there were 4 different players who showed up in the hour I was there. And meanwhile, they got 2-a-days coming. They're doing their own 2-a-days, even without being demanded of. And there's video coordinators always there to rebound, who are just in the gym watching tape all the time, cutting tape up. They see someone walk in, their job, I'm sure, is to go rebound, just to be a friendly face. So the players I don't have to do it. Teams will play their best players less in some games once they start realizing we need to lose more. But that there's a premium on winning still. In Europe, the games do mean more. You play less games. There's also less loyalty. A lot of these guys are 1 year kind of thing. It's a good life. It ain't the NBA. It's just not the NBA. And Jabari is just pissed off that he didn't really have the career he wanted to have. And what we always tell players all the time, and I've talked to a lot of agents about this, Jarod, you got to build your own team. I just talked to an agent the other day whose best player, he's one of the best players in the league, is bringing a physio with him to training camp. A lot of these teams leave for training camp. Like
Mhm.
I know the Pacers are somewhere, maybe Nashville. I
Brooklyn's going to
just
Vegas. Yeah, yeah. Teams are
Brooklyn's
they're going
going.
all
Yeah,
over the
they're
place.
all. I think Toronto's going. Maybe Vancouver. Like it's
Hmm.
just very common. Um, this guy's bringing his own personal physio. Nothing against the team. He just
Right.
likes his own guy better, and so they'll have two because
Mhm.
he'll listen to the team. I'm sure. That's what you have to do. And again, this sounds like my business a long time. I don't advertise anything, but the idea I learned is you can't trust the team because the team sometimes or the teams are sometimes incompetent, and so
Mhm.
you got to build your own team. You got to be the CEO of your own company. And and if Jabari had done a better job of that, he was a really talented player, very
Super
talented scorer.
talented.
Yeah, like Melo light, but not
Hmm.
that light, not that light, not that light. Yeah, Melo was definitely better coming out of college, but not
Oh
a lot
yeah, for
better.
sure.
Not a lot better. It was very close. And then Melo just got much better, and for whatever reason, and he didn't. And Jabari didn't. So yeah, it's on the teams though to do better at this, but the players have to trust themselves, build their
Yeah.
own team.
Yeah, hey, your situation is wherever it is. If this is the team that drafts you, do whatever it takes for you to have the career that you want to have, right? And your draft position does not dictate that, right? He was number 2 in that draft behind Andrew Wiggins, which, by the way, we should rename that the Nikola Jokic draft, not the Andrew Wiggins draft,
That's
because
good.
that is the best player in that draft in the second
That
round.
yeah, that's really good. I don't know if I ever told you this story before, but I had a player, my first ever um, year I had players drafted. I want to say it was '99. I worked out 3 guys. I'd never done it before for NBA players. I had 2 drafted in the second round, and one of them was drafted. He's Nigerian. That's how I met you, Masai Ujiri, actually, and watching him play in summer league. And he called me. This player called me from he was in Seattle, and he said. I said, "What are you doing each day? Because you're not playing the games. You're 19 years old." And he's like, "All they want me to do is work on my rebounding and free throws." I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm just telling you." The assistant coach said, "I just want you working on rebounding off the board and free throws. That's it." And this player said, "Well, my personal guide, I wasn't doing in season stuff, only off season stuff. This was '99." He said, the guy that helped me in the pre-draft said I should be doing this and this and this and this. And he's like, "Who are you going to listen to? Me, your assistant coach, or some dude who has no idea about the NBA?" He wasn't wrong about that. I'd watched a lot of NBA. I knew what I was doing as a coach. I also knew that rebound and free throws wasn't going to get it done. And I said, "Listen, you can listen to him all you want when he's around, but you better work on the other stuff, or you're not going to stick long." He ended up making it for 4 or 5 years. Never got more than minimum. Never really played. Meanwhile, within a year, his coach was fired. He went somewhere else. He ended up being a head coach. I'm still friendly with the head coach. That guy is no longer a head coach, but he was for a long time. And I bet he doesn't remember the player anymore. The player would have been much better off doing more than just working on rebounding and free throws. That's for sure. As I tell players, like I told one last night, you're 3, 4 years away from being really good with the ball. He's a tall guy, 6'10", but he's got ball skills, but not ready for the NBA. 3 or 4 years, you'll be smoking, but it's going to take 3 or 4 years of work to get to that point. If you wait 3 or 4 years just to get started, well, now it's 7 or 8 years. Now you're almost 30. So no, you got to start now and develop and develop and develop. And don't do it in games because you're not good enough yet. Do it in practice, 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 and then slowly start trying it out and pick up games and 5-on-5 in practice until you start having some success with it. Then you can start trying it some games.
No, that's I mean, brilliant. And it's also, David, the point about working on it right away. Well, if you wait 4 or 5 years, you might be out of the league in 4 or 5
That's
years
right.
if you start waiting until then to work on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not, again, where you get drafted and all that. That's not, as David always tells his guys, because, David's he was very real. Oh, celebrate. Yeah, great. Have fun on draft night. Congratulations. Work starts now, right?
Yeah.
Like you made it. You got drafted. Congratulations. How are we going to stick here? Right. And that's
Yeah.
where the work begins.
My first ever first round pick, Kevin Martin, in 2004, used to love to tell my future class of rookies when I started having a lot of guys get drafted. He used to say, he wasn't telling the truth, by the way, he said this. He said, I drove over, he was in Clearwater when he got drafted. I'd been training him for 3 years at that point. He said, I came over to coach's house when I got drafted. He called me. I'm not sure I texted him in 2003. I don't remember if there was texting anymore, but I talked to him. We had cell phones. And we texted. I remember now. And he came over to my house and I had to prep him for some media calls that night. So I prepped him up. His agent was at my house too. And, and then he told the story of 7 a.m. the next morning, I was in the gym. Not true. Not true. We did meet at 10 or 9:30, not at 7. Young twins. I was busy in the morning, but he had an afternoon flight to go do media day,
Mhm.
and I told his agent, "Don't you dare do a morning flight. We got work to do. Like it starts now." You're exactly right, and most guys get it. Most guys get it. It's a fucking hard league, man. It's fucking hard.
Yes,
And
it
the
is.
veterans don't want to give you a fucking nothing. They want to take everything from you. And so I told a guy the other day as an example of this competitive spirit you have to have. I told all my young players during the course of the last week or so, it is fucking war until the games actually really start. Then you got to be a good teammate. But before that, that guy is your enemy. I am not kidding, Jarod, when I tell you I'm helping guys prepare to outplay their teammates in training camp.
They have
Like
to.
we're going back and studying tape of their veterans. You have to take their job. You have to outplay them now. Then when this game starts, be a great teammate because it's
Mhm.
already now your job is to outplay other people. But
Mhm.
until then, you have to outplay this guy. This is just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It is very, very Darwinian in that
Yeah.
respect, right?
Correct.
When you get into training camps, right? Then, as David said, once the dust settles and we have our roster and whatever, then it's about cheering on your teammate, being the best sport person you can. But you're battling, man. You're trying to get minutes, and it's as a rookie, fuck, man, it's hard to get minutes.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. All right, David, it is time now to finish up our preview of all 30 NBA teams as we get towards training camp. Good timing, too, is all training camps will open beginning next week. The guys who are playing in Abu Dhabi and all those early overseas games have already started. But
Dallas, Minnesota. Yeah.
but everybody else will start by the time we come back next week, next Monday for the pod.
Well, there'll
All right.
be Tuesday, Wednesday. I think
Tuesday,
most teams
Wednesday.
have started.
Because
Monday will be
they'll
the
have media
last.
day on
Yeah.
Monday, and
Correct.
then where it'll be like, yeah, everything's gonna be great, we're gonna play fast, blah blah blah. All the lies they tell on media days, which not true. You'll see what happens when they actually play. But we're gonna finish up with the Pacific Division, and let us start because we go alphabetical order with the Golden State Warriors. They did some stuff this offseason. They got Chris Paul, the point gods there. Look, to me, my question is about this team. And it's really a simple one. How healthy are you going to be? Because assuming health, this team should be right in the thick of it for conference finals and possibly NBA finals if everything shakes out right for them.
Yeah, I'm looking at uh who we know almost everyone on that team. There's one guy that I'm not sure we know about.
Mm.
Um, and you're not gonna guess it. It's fair to say Kaminga Moody. That's easy. I'm trying not to be easy here. Um, I just I don't know that Kevon Looney doesn't have another level to get to. Yeah,
Ooh. Well,
this
shit.
guy.
If he ascends, well then fuck, they're going to be outstanding.
I always ask young players if they know what his nickname was. He's been in the league long enough for some of these guys don't know Kevon Looney in high school. Baby
Baby
KD.
KD. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we might see infant KD. Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, I'm not suggesting he's going to score 20 a game or anything like that, but I just feel like and I've talked to some people. He he knows who he is, but I think he also has a sense of pride of our team needs to be better. We lost Jordan Poole. Like he did not help us last year, but he's a talented player. How are we going to, Chris Paul ain't going to score like that. He'll be different. I like Chris Paul very much for what he can bring them. I think Looney can, and Draymond. I should have added that too.
Mm-hmm.
Both those guys have a lot of pride and a lot of IQ, a
Wow.
lot of talent. I think both of them can upgrade their offensive firepower some. And then Lakers, Denver, Golden State are my 3 favorite in the West. If we can see a
Wow.
little bit more from Looney and Draymond Green. And so I don't know
Yeah.
if we can. That's the question.
Yeah, that is the question. And then also, what do so everybody knows Golden State Warriors starting five, I think even up till last year was still the best starting five in terms of net rating of any starting five in the league with Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney. The problem, of course, they have with that is they play 2 non-shooters, right, in Draymond and Looney. But if Looney's maybe worked on that in the offseason, we don't know, and he can now step out and do something that makes them different. Do you like, and I think you do, I agree too, you like Chris Paul coming off the bench and quarterbacking that second unit, right? Because they're going to need some scoring punch when Steph sits down.
I do. I don't know that he'll like it. I have no idea. I have no knowledge of how he feels, but I do like Chris Paul. Again, that starting team was really good last year. Don't change that. and Chris Paul can finish games. He doesn't have to finish games.
Mhm.
You got to get Chris Paul to the postseason.
Yes, that's
And so the less we need him regular season, the more we can have of him in the postseason when it really matters. It would be an amazing story to see Steph Curry get number 5,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Paul get his first in
Yep.
Golden State. That would really be,
Sure
and
would.
then that helps Chris Paul's legacy. Not that
For
that
sure.
matters so much, but it does to Chris Paul. But it
Mm-hmm.
helps Steph too. Like
Yeah.
he got KD his 2. He
Mm-hmm.
got Chris Paul his 1. These are 2 of the greatest players of all time for their position, and the only one rings with Steph because Henry a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, said Steph's in his top 5, and I'm starting to think more and more that he very well could get there, and that would be a great story. We're a long way from that, but I do want to see Chris Paul healthy in April and May and beyond.
And the other piece about Chris Paul coming with the second unit, he also will help Moody and Kuminga, right? In terms of those guys being where they have to
Very
be
much so.
and help them get easier shots. And because those guys want to be more of a part of the scoring and helping this team. And Chris can help them with that for sure in pick and roll. Like, I mean, he's the master, right? Like, or one of the masters of that. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to see out of Golden State. Next team up. The team's got a lot of questions, I'm sure. The Los Angeles Clippers, David. What is your big question for the Clippers?
I mean, easy ones about health with Kawhi and Paul George. I could go a step further with that and say not just health, but what's their level of play. Kawhi was tremendous at times last year in the games that he played. But same question everyone else has is, are they going to get that guard that they want? Whether it's Drew, whether it's James, I know without question they're working hard at it. I know without question. I just can't say how I know.
Right.
They're trying to get Harden. Or maybe Drew. I don't know that. I know Harden. I don't know about Drew. It wouldn't surprise me. They feel like they need an organizing principle. Maybe the scoring ability of James, or possibly the defensive stuff of Drew and the experience. And then how Ty Lue, you're on the clock a little. I mean, I was told he was looking to get the Phoenix job. I don't know if that was reported, but that's what I was told. He didn't get it. Bomber seems to be all gung ho for his team, and I'm reminded, by the way, you ever seen that video of that Windows 95? I just saw it today. I've seen it years ago. These are some nerdy videos. It's not true that some of us can't dance. I promise you that. Those cats can't. But he seems like a good owner to play for. I've heard really great things from Clippers people about it. They've got some work to do with, in their minds, of getting someone to run our team. And Lawrence Frank's really good, I think, and a great guy. And I want to see them do it because I think the West becomes. They were my pick to win the West last year.
Yes, they were.
They with Kawhi and Paul George, if they can get that thing figured out with that whoever they're going to get as a guard, like they could be a very, very good team and beat any of those other teams.
So that means if they're going to get Drew or James, Terrence Mann, I assume, is going to have to be involved in that.
I don't know. I don't know if you say no. He's off. I've always thought he's been off the table, but I don't know that they can say that if they want to get this deal done. I don't know. Norman Powell's gone.
Because yes, they have Powell, but if I'm a team and if I'm Portland and I have Drew, or if I have James Harden, like I definitely want Terrence Mann, right? Yeah. And then I wonder, is he someone that can be an organizing lead guard player?
I think so, but they don't seem to believe it because they keep going after Harden and or maybe Drew now. And Drew is a very different player than Harden, obviously, and it wouldn't be a long-term thing with Drew necessarily because he could opt out. So, yeah, you're right. Their team playing in April probably isn't the team that we see right now. No surprise.
My question stems around that is that when do we decide that, or it's not even a decision that you decide it's not going to work. It's just that circumstances have showed us, right? We know that Kawhi cannot play a full 82 game season, right? Like whatever his injury is chronic. Okay. So we're going to manage him to play whatever the number is, 58, 60, whatever. Paul George, right? Like at what point do we say that we got to get off this? Because this is, and that whole point about a team's going to be barren in the future, that's a team that's going to be barren. Because remember, they gave up a ton to get Paul George in the right, including SGA and a lot of picks. So, this is, I'll be very curious to see where this team is come Christmas Day, right? If they're kind of in a groove and everybody's playing and they got the Kawhi sort of like every other or whatever the maintenance plan he's on down and everybody's good, good, or if it got bad quick, or is Ballmer like, all right, you got to reset this thing because this is just not going to work. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move across the hall to the other Staples Center resident, which, by the way, they will not be co-tenants for long. Bomber's arena that he's building will be done sometime in the next year or two. So the Clippers will move out eventually. But the Lakers, David's pick, if I'm not mistaken, to win the West, or at least be in the conference finals.
I did. Yeah, exactly. I think I'm not really picking anything. Is we don't know who's going to be when. Now that Dane's been moved, but I think they're one of the 2 or 3. Again, there's a top 3 of Denver, who's got a depth problem. The Lakers and Golden State are my top 3 in the West right now.
All right. So my question for the Lakers is, was the Rui Hachimura we saw in the playoffs really who he is? Because if that is the case, well, then I like this team a lot now. Because I'm like, well, this is a guy who can, easily be, most improved player, all that, he can start fighting for an all-star spot potentially. Like, he was great in a lot of those games in the playoffs. So if that's closer to who he is, I think the Lakers are going to be fine. So that's my question. Who is the real Rui Hachimura?
Yeah, I can't help but look at Darvin Ham and just wonder, is he really got head coaching talent? Very good assistant coach. People like him a lot. Smart guy. I don't know. I didn't like what I saw last year. He definitely got a little bit better, not a lot better, I don't think. But I think he's had a full off season. And so to kind of figure out what he's good and bad at, there's some coaches who are really good at that. I was talking to an assistant coach today who said his head coach is so good at taking criticism and being self-analytical. This is where I was good. This is where I sucked at. I got to get better. I really like that. Darvin needs to do some of that, like any young coach. And they're loaded with talent. And then the other question I have is, it's just more of just a personal thing, is Anthony Davis never going to win an MVP? That dude is as good a first round pick as you're going to get. Good as first overall pick. He's just incredible.
So good.
And I'm telling you, he's changed a little bit. He was a great team in New Orleans. I don't know that I feel that way about him now in LA. But never won MVP. I just feel like there's more in him. And I want Jordan to get out of it, and LeBron to get out of him. And then imagine how good they'd be if he's that guy.
Guys, Anthony Davis realizing his full potential is a better version. I know this is going to sound crazy to some of you. He's Giannis Antetokounmpo who can actually shoot. Like, I mean, that's what Anthony Davis is. Like,
you're right.
But he plays 55 games a year or whatever, and all the jokes the TNT guys makes about him, street clothes, all that. It's his inability to stay healthy is a problem. But when this guy plays, and we saw it in that series last year against the Grizzlies. Listen, y'all know we love Trip on this show. AD looked like the defensive player of the year in that series, right? Like, it's just, this is how good this guy is. And I think this is what frustrates fans, is like, you see glimpses of the potential, but you never get to see it in its totality. And listen, we may never. That's just maybe just the reality of how it is. But if he's that guy, they're going to win the thing if he's that guy. But I don't know. No guarantees there. All right, Phoenix Suns. We talked about them in the trade. David, what is your burning question for the Suns heading into training camp?
How would they respond to this trade now? What is their thought about Nurkic? You have to really have a genuine belief in, and this is something Henry is talking to me a lot about with our brains and how much our brains determine fight. People always say heart, and Henry is talking to me about it's the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And are they waking up today thinking we're good? Yeah. We're down the road. We're fine with the money we're getting off of because of Ayton. But how about now? Like, are they going to camp saying we're the team? And they got Beal, Booker, Durant, and then players to be named later potentially. Okogie and Nurkic today.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, I don't know. Maybe Grayson Allen over Okogie. Maybe Nasir Little over Okogie.
Yeah.
Maybe. He hasn't shown much yet, but people. I've heard people say, I've heard people say he's coming around. So day one of camp, you should be so excited And if you're a contender, really excited. We'll see that preseason, but week 1, week 2 in regular season does Phoenix have that pulse? Like, okay, like they think they can win it all this year. Yeah, that's a question. I don't know if they will. I really don't.
We'll know for game 1, David. They play the Golden State Warriors opening night. So we will know right off the jump what kind of team this is.
Yeah. Well,
right?
that's easy to be fired up for that, though, to be fair. But that's game 1, you said?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be, that's why I said week 1, week 2. Where's their effort level? Where's their focus level? Where's their intensity level? Because it's a parity-filled league again.
Sure is.
So every win all season long matters towards that seeding at the end. I think that makes a big difference.
I'm with you in a similar vein. I think, look, a team with Durant, Booker, and Beal, it's not going to have problems scoring points, right? They're offensively is not too much of a concern I have for this team. What I want to know is, has everyone decided we're going to buy in on the defensive end of the floor? That's what I want. And that starts with those 3 guys. Because if they're bought in, then Nurk and Okogie and Grayson Allen and everybody else, they got to do the same thing too. Yeah. But if those guys are just playing lip service to it and they're like, doing a thing where like they get blown by and they're pointing, oh, you got to get that, man, and all that stuff we see from a lot of veterans, ain't happening with this team. But if they're bought in on that end of the floor, look out. This team is as good as any team in the league and can win. But, that to me is the question. And Vogel, that's his side of the court, right? He is a defensive mastermind. So we'll see. And I think to David's point, their early schedule, they got a lot of big games. They have, as I mentioned, Golden State opening night. They play the Lakers, I think, next game. They open up against heavy hitters. We'll see. We'll see how seriously committed they are to that end of the floor. All right, last team, the surprise team of the year last year in many ways, Sacramento Kings. Like number 1 offense for most of the year. Defense wasn't great. So that's where I want to start. That is Mike Brown's calling card. Now, he had all those years with the Warriors. So we learned a ton about offense. I know he didn't forget about defense. So he
played defense too on those teams.
Right, correct. The Warriors, you don't win titles without defense. So has he and has the Kings themselves learned, okay, regular season was fun. We did our thing. We know we can do this. But if we want to win a playoff series, we have to guard better. And so are they now, and that starts with De'Aaron Fox and your leaders, have we bought into that end of the floor? Again, not a turnstile. I mean, not a all defensive guy. No. But you cannot be a turnstile, right? You have to put effort forth on that end of the floor. That's what I want to see from the Sacramento Kings.
So, so do they. I'll build on that. And I look at De'Aaron Fox. I've heard that he's got another level to get to from people there. And to me, it starts on defense for him. If he can make a leap, it's going to start with him being an excellent defensive player, I think, and then have that not hinder his offense.
Correct.
So maintain your offense, maybe grow that a little bit. Suddenly become a good defender, Steph Curry level or better, which he is. Mm-hmm. He should with that athleticism. And then I think that's moving towards what you need for Sacramento. Then the second thing I'd piggyback on is the idea of you're not a surprise team anymore. People take you seriously. Where is your heartbeat? Where is your sense of urgency? You can't surprise anyone anymore. And so it's harder. It's hard to repeat as champions. Hard to repeat as a playoff contender when you were the year before, when you're not used to it. You can't get complacent. You got to be hungry as fuck. And I think Mike will do a good job. Their culture's good. Let's not be a flash in the pan. It would be so Sacramento-ish to be that. They're very talented, though. And I really like what I'm hearing about. And I like that Keegan Murray played at Summer League games for 40. I like they seem to be in good hands. They're not a joke anymore. They're not a laughingstock. That's for sure. I mean,
David Keegan makes a jump this year, which we expect. That's like you got a bona fide legit. Yeah. I mean, as a rookie, this guy was playing he started. He was critical in that pushed the Golden State Warriors to 7 games. And that had to, again, David always talks about reference points for players. Yeah. He got a ton of reference points last season, as did that whole team. Now, as you went back and you put it in your computer brain, what is your computer brain doing with those reference points? Did it inform your work this summer? Did you work this summer? Right? We'll find out when the season tips off. But it should be exciting. David, it's here almost. I mean, we're going to start seeing preseason games in 10 days, 10 days, something like that.
Less than that. I think the Mavericks play pretty soon here.
No, Abu Dhabi. All right. So we're gonna see some preseason ball, and the Mavericks. Look, Luka played FIBA World Cup, so he's already in shape.
He
No,
looks really good. He
they're not
looks
gonna
really
have
good.
that ramp up period.
Yeah.
No, Kyrie, it's a whole other story. He might have a ramp up period, but they should be interesting to see out the gates. It'll be curious. I'm excited for the start of the season. All right, guys, enjoy the weekend. Next week, more stuff will be coming at you. We'll do like our awards predictions and all that.
Okay.
We'll do some more preview stuff for you, and then we'll get ready to start the season. Have a great weekend.